Hilarious, actually. This is take 3, and for good reason. But this podcast has been hilarious, and I hate that you weren't here.
You had to be in the room.
Yeah, maybe we should start doing studio audiences. Well, sometimes we have people come in and like they sit in, and y'all are always welcome to come in. We record on Wednesdays at 4:30, even though right now it's 2:22.
Yeah,
but
we're feeling silly, so we need to.
Yeah, I don't know how much Bible you're gonna get today, but you're gonna laugh.
You're gonna laugh.
It's gonna be fun.
We always promise a laugh.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So, how about we start with the Olympics?
Go America.
Go America. Who does America play today? Basketball.
South Sudan.
I
only know that because we recorded this 4 times already, and we talked about it every time.
Where is South Sudan located?
In East Asia. Because we looked that up. You said East Africa. You said East Africa.
The team is dark-skinned black men, and you talking about Asia.
Geography is not my strength. There are,
but I literally just told you.
Asia.
But these, you know,
Asia is a continent. There's lots of countries
really?
in Asia.
I didn't know that. Wow, I should have went to LSU. Maybe if I'd have went to LSU, I would have figured that out.
I can't say you're wrong.
Speaking of LSU.
We need help. Okay, let's talk about Sunday.
What happened on Sunday? Sunday
was a great night.
And Sunday was fun.
It was really fun.
Can you get it together? The people want content, like
usually
good content.
Usually I follow your lead, and your lead has been funny. Funny. Let's laugh.
Because I'm funny.
So
because the people
you
really
need to reel it in order for me to.
Half of the reason why people listen is because they want to see. Well, slow down. Let me finish. Because again, like you said, I'm leading this. They want to hear me, so because I'm the funny one and I make them laugh. You, on the other hand, you might make them chuckle here and there. Well, most of the time you make them chuckle, but every now and then you might get a laugh out of them. But that's okay. You know, everybody's called to carry their own cross, and humor is just my cross. And there are some seasons excuse me. There are some seasons of my life where the burden of humor, it weighs on me. Why are you laughing? This is not funny. This is real to me, and I'm sharing with you my story. And I pray that God would free me from the comical burden that He has called me to. But I recognize, I give hope when I see God using me, despite of how difficult it may be. Like right now, there are tears in your eyes. You're laughing so hard. And even Lois
usually
smiling.
When you just let people talk, they eventually talk themselves out of whatever story they're dragging on. But I think if I would not have interrupted you, you would have talked for the rest of the 30 minutes about this make-believe comical burden.
Well, that's what you're not understanding. It's real for me. It's a reality that I live with every single day. I wake up in the morning and I read scripture.
Okay, that's enough.
I read 3 passages of scripture and I read 3 jokes. Okay, gotta stay sharp at all times. No. And so, anyway, I guess to you and to the audience, I would just finish my testimony by saying you're welcome, and I'll be here every week. So.
Thank you for sharing. I know that was hard for you.
It was hard, but I think there's a lot of. James said, confess your sins to one another so that you might find healing.
Comedy is a sin?
We're moving on now. How was Sunday for you?
Sunday was great.
Yeah? Sunday
was great. So if you weren't there on Sunday, we launched our ministry impact groups, which is really exciting. Never mind. I was going to say I'll post a link to join somewhere, but I won't. Really exciting though, because we rebranded our serve teams and people are excited. People are joining. People are learning about what it means to make an impact.
Yeah, we had 50 people sign up.
It was a great night. And also the best part for me was seeing our leaders in their leadership, like presenting and connecting. And I was like, look at them go. It's like little mother hen and all of her.
So you see yourself as a mother hen?
Spiritual mother hen.
I'm just asking. That's the word you use. I'm not
yes.
making any claims here. Just want to clarify for the people. So you're a spiritual mother hen. Okay, that's cool. Nice to know. So let me ask you this, mother hen. Who has made the biggest impact in your spiritual life? One person. Don't name like 3. I said the biggest, which means there's only can be one.
That's a great question. When I thought about the answer to this question earlier, I started crying. But clearly this is not the kind of podcast, so we're gonna cry.
Well, if you can laugh in tears, which again you're welcome, then you could also laugh. Did I say laugh? If you're gonna cry tears of laughter, you can also cry tears of the Lord has done something in my life.
I also thought of 4 people.
See,
but this is why. Well, I initially thought of 1, and I'll share the one that the first person that came to mind.
Okay, let's go.
But the reason why I thought of 3 more is because I know we talk a lot about community on here.
Sure.
But literally, it's taken a village to get me where I'm at now. And so it wasn't just one person that has impacted me greatly. But the first person I thought of, now I have to add someone else to my list. There's a long list. But the first person I thought of was Nina.
Oh yeah, shout out Nina.
Nina Garcia.
Nina used to go to the BLOC.
She used to come to the BLOC. She was the first person I met at service at the BLOC with my first night there. She was the first person to say hi to me, introduce herself, and she was my first life group leader. And so she kind of showed me just. I think the biggest thing I learned from her in my leadership is how to really care for the people that you're leading, because she would check in on her life group. She would like meet up with them. It's like she really just discipled people really well. And so she was the first person I thought of. But there are
Nina
3 more.
still check in on the mother hen?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And now she's her own mother. She actually has a child.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Nina's great.
So like,
Nina is great. We love Nina.
Being friends through different seasons for me, different seasons for her, and having that like point person, her friendship has changed me forever.
Okay, because you're dying to share a second person. Who else?
I'll share the other 3, but I won't explain.
Okay.
Or maybe I'll make it short.
Sure.
Okay. Well, not the second person, but another person is Stephen Daigle. So him and his wife were the first people to call out the leadership that they see in me.
Laura Daigle?
Yeah. And I was kind of unbearable sometimes as a leader early on.
This is when you first came from LSU, right? I'm asking.
Yes. As I was stepping into leadership, I was a little bit rebellious and very
just
vocal.
A little bit?
Yeah, just a little bit. But he and his wife saw that in me, cultivated that in me. So they're the people that big impact. Third person I thought of was Allie, because she's like been in the trenches with me through like lots of different things that we've had to work through. And so it's nice having someone that like is beyond where you are and kind of calling you there. And also I feel like Allie and I just became like we just ran together.
Sure.
And so having her experience in ministry to help me with my leadership has been phenomenal. And also she's just a great friend and a great person, and you just need that. And then the 4th person I thought of was you.
Oh. Yeah, do expound. And you can take as much time as you need.
Oh my gosh, no, I will make this as quick as the others.
Look low behind the camera, hating.
Okay, so the reason I thought of you is because you were the first person. Oh my gosh, you were the first person to call out me.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna just listen.
No, you were the first person that was like, "Hey, I could see you being a pastor," and I laughed in your face, because if you know me and my story, it doesn't compute. But because of the Lord's redemption and growth and all these people and more that have helped me get to this point, you really helped me see myself as someone that can lead and pastor and care for people really well. I'm not technically a pastor, but I do a lot of pastoring. So you also have helped me with like a deep love for the word and cultivated that in me. So
I have a song on my heart. May I share it?
No, I would like for you not to. What you can share is the people that have spiritually impacted you.
But I want to do my song.
You have 30 seconds.
What can I say except you're welcome?
I will never compliment him again. Never, ever again. Okay, but I say all that to say it wasn't just one person in one season. It was a combination of lots of people being faithful in their calling to help me be faithful in mine. And
Absolutely.
It's been great.
So my person that I shared on Sunday was my Nanny Rose.
Not to be confused with your mom.
Not to be confused with my mom.
Similar.
Well, that's because
sisters.
They're sisters.
Yes.
There it is. And so she was a big part of my life, my spiritual. She's the reason why I have a love for the word.
Yeah.
As much as I do, because she just was the best teacher ever. So her, then I have a cousin, his name is Kenneth, and I saw Kenneth like live in the world and then like give his life to Jesus and like really When I don't mean like he walked down the aisle and like told the church that he wanted to give his life to God, but like he literally repented and started following Jesus for real. So he was like a big example of my life. He was a great mentor. And then my friend Zach, and then Steven, and then Kennedy played a big role in my spiritual impact as well. She'll never give herself credit for it, but she was a big help too. Yeah. So I can go on and on, but I think those are
you can't just name
top
one.
people. Yeah, for sure.
There's too many.
So it's great. No, Lo. No, put your hands down. Lo was picking her hands up like, what about me?
Lo. I'll send you a voice message.
We love
later,
Lo though.
If I say it on here, I'll
let's
cry.
talk about Lo, because Lo's like the unsung hero for the podcast. She always sets it up for us. She records for us. Many of you know Lo because she leads worship with us as well, but she does a lot in our ministry too.
She does a lot.
And so like when we talk about serving and making an impact in our ministry, Lo's embodied that well. Matter of fact, I remember when Lo first came to the church, I met her and her friends, whom I thought at the time were her sisters, but that wasn't necessarily the case. They were singing their way out of church. And I was like, oh, where do y'all think y'all going? Y'all need to turn around and audition for the worship team. Well, here we are 2 years later, and she's one of our worship co-leaders now. So we're excited about that. Who would have thought? Now, when I first saw her coming in, I was like, nah, I don't know. But then the Lord used her. No, that's crazy. Okay, but anyway, that leads me to ask you this next question, because obviously Sunday was a big push for our people to lean in to serve and be a part of what God is doing by being the hands and feet of Jesus within the ministry. And so my question to you is, how has serving in the church, specifically in the BLOC, since you've been coming for some years, and you started, when you first gave your life to the Lord, you started coming to the BLOC, and what I think you was coming from LSU. Yeah, right? Okay. And
keep going.
And you began to just serve. So how has serving impacted your walk with the Lord?
Yeah. And I also just dived right in. Like, I think my second week at the ministry, I was like, whatever I can do, put me in. Like, let's go. Let's get after it, which helped a lot. But I think the biggest thing over my time at the BLOC so far is that I've been able to see how God has been working in my life before I acknowledged him because of how he's refined my leadership through serving. Sure. And the reason I say that is because I led a lot at LSU, a lot. And I was very involved in LSU ambassadors. I did a lot of stuff. And I was cultivating those leadership skills, but I didn't really know the Lord. Why are you laughing?
No, go ahead.
Why are you laughing?
I'm sorry. It's not you, it's me. Sometimes, I don't want to interrupt, but sometimes I'm so funny, I make myself laugh. And I just had one of those moments, and I apologize for interrupting you. Please continue, because you were saying some really good stuff. I'm so serious.
So I was leading at LSU.
Right.
Was not really following the Lord at all. And then when I started leading within the BLOC, I was like, oh, these skills that I already have transfer beautifully for the BLOC and the ministry and the kingdom. And if I hadn't done all of that, the Lord was preparing me then, even though I wasn't really giving him the time of day. Yeah. And now I'm like, I am the leader that I am because I already had a foundation of skills before I transferred them over to building the kingdom. Right. So it was really beautiful.
I forgot I was going to ask you. Oh, I think that's what actually I was going to ask you. How did the things that you learned at LSU when you were there translate to your time building and furthering the kingdom?
So I'll give one specific example. So one of the things we need help. One of the things that I did at LSU was I led small groups, and I taught people how to lead small groups well. I trained them on how to do it. And then I became a life group leader, and I'm like, same skills, different intent, because now we're leading people closer to the Lord, but the skills and the communication and navigating a group. And
now, when you first came here, you didn't automatically become a leader. You served first, and then you
100%.
grew into leadership.
Yeah, but the more I served, the more I was like, I could do this. I think I could lead in this way and do a really great job.
Now, what do you say to people who say, well, of course you were effective in helping the church because you're somewhat of a natural leader. You just had to kind of hone in on your skills and your craft. So what about the people who don't feel that way about themselves but are still being called to serve?
So I feel like leadership comes naturally, which like I've worked very hard to become the leader that I am, but it looks like it comes naturally to me because the Lord's called me to lead.
Sure.
The Lord has not called everyone
Right.
to lead or lead in the same capacity, because I do think everyone leads just in their own way. But there are things that come naturally to people that they can use to further the kingdom, and whatever that looks like. Maybe it's creative, maybe it's singing. Like there are things that are natural for you that the Lord can use to further his kingdom. It just happens to be leadership for me, but you don't know unless you are using those gifts and serving in some kind of way, so that you can be like, oh, I like this, or like, I don't really like this, or I'm really drawn to this.
Sure.
And it usually points you in the way of how the Lord wants to use you on a bigger scale.
Now, I've heard somebody once tell me, and this kind of helped me lean more into serving, but I want to know how it causes you to change your perspective or shift your perspective about serving. Somebody once told me that we serve the church because the church, that is the people that make up the church, is the bride of Christ. And so if you're going to serve the Lord, you can't serve the groom without also serving his wife, you know? And so that we're here, we serve the Lord by serving his wife, that is the church.
Yeah.
And so when I first heard that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I should probably serve the Lord and his wife in his church, you know?
Yeah.
And so how does that shift your perspective, and how does that motivate you to serve and stuff like that?
I think, so Allie and I were talking about this a few weeks ago about like the church as the bride of Christ. And like she brought up the analogy of like Stephen and Laura who are married.
Yeah.
Like it would be disrespectful to Stephen if I ignored Laura.
Right.
You know, like, or it'd be disrespectful to Laura if I
Right.
ignored Stephen. Like it only, like our friendship works because we're all friends, right? Like it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
And so when I think about people who are maybe hesitant to serve, or like making excuses for serving, or like, I don't want to dedicate the time, it's like you low-key are disrespecting the Lord. Because
no, not low-key. You are.
I don't want to say that. Yeah. But like it's disrespectful to ignore the bride of Christ. And I think it helps to like, it's not just about us and like us finding our gifts and finding our purpose. It's also about the Lord and honoring him and his bride. And so it's really important.
What has been the most challenging thing about serving the church? Be honest.
Yeah, I'm laughing because
there's a lot of things that's hard about it.
Yeah.
Can I go first?
Sure, yeah.
People
Sure.
are hard. They are just difficult. Love people. Like I have a genuine love for all people. Like genuinely. I just love people just how I am. But people are hard. People are challenging, especially people that you expect, because they're believers, to be believers, to act like a son and or a daughter of God. And you know, sometimes we don't meet that mark. You know, we all got we all have our own ugly, as how I like to say it. And so sometimes that ugliness comes out, and it's just difficult to deal with sometimes.
Yeah.
But yet still, in all of the ugliness of the bride of Christ, there's so much more beauty to it. And I don't mean that just like on a corporate scale. I mean it on the micro scale as well.
Yeah.
Like people who are hard to love have a lot of reasons that you should and could love them for, you know? And so I think it's challenging sometimes, but at the end of the day, no matter what manner of ugly or whatever, like it's still his bride. And so like you still called to serve, and serve well, not any kind of way, but serve well.
Right. And I think what's encouraging in that, because leading people is hard. Serving with people is hard. I feel like in the last like 6 months alone, I've had more like conflict resolution conversations than I've ever had in my life. And it's because I'm stepping up as a leader and growing in my leadership. And that just comes with
the territory,
stepping on people's toes, or people, you know, needing to have conversations with me. And like, it is what it is, you know, and I'm thankful for it because it helps me refine my leadership and like who I am as a person. But what I love is that we're never alone in that. Like all the things that are hurtful to us, Jesus experienced some scale, usually a bigger scale than what we are. And so it's nice to know that I'm not alone in that, and having people like you and Steven and Laura and Allie and Nina, like people that when I'm having a struggle or having a hard time working with people, y'all encourage me and remind me that it's worth it. And maybe there's something that the Lord is working out of me that would have only come out in this conflict. And so it's worth it, but it's hard.
Sure.
But anything worth having is hard.
Exactly. Facts. So what is the most rewarding thing about serving the church? The bride of Christ.
The bride of Christ. I think for me, the feeling that like God is proud of me. Because like there are moments when I do something that is terrifying, like very scary, but I do it anyway. And I pray that the Lord meets me where I'm at and he just speaks through me or uses me in a specific way. And like that feeling of doing it scared and the Lord, like that feeling that like God is just with me is like, he's proud of me. And like looking back on how far I've come, I'm like, this is great. Like it's scary and it's hard and it's sometimes challenging, but like doing the work of the Lord is always worth it.
The scriptures calls us to equip the saints for the work of the ministry. And so I guess my question to you would be, how can you encourage someone who's in the church and they are being equipped for the work of the ministry and they just in a really difficult season of like growing into that and it's just hard for them? How would you encourage them?
It's worth it.
Yeah, it is worth it.
And you're not doing it alone.
Worth it
which
how?
Is because what the Lord has called you to do is weighs heavier than anything that's hard or challenging. Like on the other side is you furthering the kingdom and the Lord using you to do that, which is just kind of mind blowing if you think about it, that like he wants to use us specifically to help people know about him and to help his name be known on this earth. It's like someone like me has no business, doing this work, but he calls us to do it anyway. And so you all like, number one, you have to have the right people around you because when it gets hard, you need to lean into the people that are going to remind you of this. And also keeping the payoff in mind. Like this is worth it. Becoming who God's called you to be is worth anything that you're working through that might feel challenging or hard.
Maybe you answered this question already, but that's fine. I want to just ask it again. What is the person who's not serving? What are they missing out on? The person who's not serving, what are they missing
Literally
out on?
Everything. Just to name a few: community and relationships, fun. Serving is fun.
Yes. People underestimate those first two. Let's just walk through this, okay?
Yeah.
Because people don't, like, some people find it hard to come into our ministry and find like friends and stuff because our ministry is of a larger size.
Which, go watch last week's episode because we talked about exactly how to make friends in our ministry.
Right.
And then come back.
Yes, for sure.
Yes.
But serving is a great opportunity to get to meet new people, especially the way we organize our impact teams now, to where like we're going to meet more often than we have in the past, and you're going to get an opportunity to engage with more people. And so like we're excited about that, but also it is fun. We have a great time. Like no matter what you do, it's like we want everything that we do to be fun and enjoyable. Like it is hard sometimes. It's like, okay, let's lock in real quick so we can get this done and done well. But it's like, it's an enjoyable experience for sure.
Yeah. Community, fun. What are they missing out on? I said relationships. Your calling. Which everyone's
Even
like, what am I called to do? What does the Lord call me to do?
But like, even if you're
you
not
need to start
called,
by serving.
even if you're not called to be a greeter, for the rest of your life, that's not a terrible place to start. Like serving anywhere in God's kingdom, serving his bride in any way is so much better than not serving his bride at all. And especially because we're called to it. And if you love the Lord, it's very difficult for you to not translate that love to his bride, Yeah. And so I think that's just important. Matter of fact, I started at this church as a greeter. I just greeted because that was the easiest thing to do. Now I'm on the platform and it just won't shut up.
Will not.
So, there's a lot that goes into it, but I encourage everybody to serve because it's just important. Like we are called to serve and serve one another. And so if you're not serving the church, then, you're just not walking in obedience to the Lord. And we want everybody to do so.
And I think an underrated reason or underrated thing that people might not realize they're missing out on is it's not all the time that you get to see the fruit of the work that you're doing in serving. Sure. It's not guaranteed.
Yes.
But because the Lord is so compassionate, oftentimes he lets us see some of that fruit. And that is, I feel like, keeps you motivated to keep serving. Because if you, let's say you are just really tired, you don't feel like greeting, and you're just like, I'm gonna show up anyway, and the Lord's just gonna have to use me. You show up, you greet, and then that person you interact with ends up coming to your life group or ends up like, you just never know how what seems little to you, the Lord is using for a much bigger story. And sometimes he lets you see that.
Oh yeah.
Like Nina, my first Sunday at the BLOC, she just came up to me and said hi. She had neither one of us had any idea that I would be here and we would be, the BLOC would be what it is. But because of her obedience and just greeting me, it's opened up, life change for both of us, And so getting to see that fruit, there's nothing else like it, really.
Yeah. I would just add on to this by saying that like the commitment you make to serving the church can like be beneficial for your life. Like for me personally, in full transparency, the only reason why I started greeting at the church is because I was being lazy about going to church. But like one of the things I pride myself on is like being a man of my word. Like if I signed up for something and people are counting on me to be there, then like I'm gonna make sure I'm there. Like I'm not one of those people who's gonna cancel the morning of. That's crazy to me. But it was like those commitments to greeting and showing up to greet because I signed up to do it that was my motivation to get up in the morning to make sure I got there.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just getting to the door and greeting. It was like, oh, because I'm here now, then now I'm going to worship and now I'm going to sit under the teaching of God's word. And all of these things are going to feed me spiritually. And I probably wouldn't have came had I not committed to serving the bride of Christ. But because I'm committed to the Lord and I'm committed to his bride, then like I'm going to do something I don't necessarily want to do that's going to benefit me later.
Yeah.
And like life is the same way. Like there's a lot of things that we need to do, that we should be doing, that we don't always want to do. But like if there's some level of commitment, like because your job is expecting you to be there, sometimes it's going to be the only thing that's going to get you to work.
Right.
Your children counting on you to pay the bills and put food on the table and this, that, and the third is going to motivate you to get up and go to work, right? And so you got to find that whatever motivates you to do what needs to be done in obedience to the Lord. And that's in this conversation, serving his church.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
And it makes an impact, not just in your life, but even more so in the lives of others.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of Jesus.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
I've been serving so long at the BLOC that people left and came back and I'm still there and they're like, oh, you're the only person I remember. And I'm like, thank God I have been locked in.
How long you been here?
A long time.
Dang.
Probably about 9.
So you were like
9
grandma
years.
hand then like mama hand.
Yeah, probably so. Probably need a cane.
Dang. That's crazy. I'm sorry.
See what I deal with on a daily basis.
Anyway, what was I going to say?
I was saying how staying rooted and serving faithfully is a great way to connect.
Yeah, I agree with you.
What I was saying.
Can we close by me saying this?
Sure.
I think that I was listening to somebody this week saying how it's healthy to cry and it's just good for the soul sometimes.
Okay.
So I think that if you're that person, you should go watch Old Yeller. It's a very good old school tearjerker.
You've been trying to get me to watch this movie for at least a month.
It's a classic. I can't believe so many people haven't seen Old Yeller. It's a Disney movie too. I think it's either Disney or Walt Disney.
I'll find some time to watch it.
You should.
During my lifetime.
It's great. Lo says we have 1 minute left, and she usually puts her finger, and it's so straight. It's like,
oh my God.
Wrap this up. I'm ready to go. So
we love Lo.
We do love Lo. She got
we love y'all and we love serving.
She got this green sweater on, look like a candy apple.
We have less than 1 minute.
I know. I just want to talk into it.
We love y'all. We'll see y'all Sunday.
No, let me finish talking.